Hello, everybody. Welcome to our podcast today. We're talking about the Byzantine and Carolingian empires, the rise of Kiev and Russia. We'll be mentioning the Vikings, all focusing on the rise of Christianity. I'm currently taking a break from my bitterness right now. Apparently, there is a rat living outside. I've named him Igor, who has completely destroyed my pumpkin that I bought for the Halloween season. Isn't that lovely? So that's my day. I hope yours has been much better. Moving along, today we're going to dive right in with the Byzantine Empire. As you know, Constantine moves the capital from Rome to Byzantium, renames it Constantinople, and thus begins the eastern period of the Roman Empire. And then Rome falls in 476 CE. So take a look at this map, notice the areas surrounding it. So things you should know. Constantinople, Alexandria, Jerusalem, Antioch, and Rome were the five centers of the Christian church. And the two halves were linked by culture. And there's reasons that the eastern half, or Eastern Rome, survived while the western half crumbled and entered a sort of dark age broken period. First of all, there was a higher level of civilization, and a big reason of that is notice the location of the Byzantine Empire. Go back to this map. What do you see? They've got Greece. That really helps. They also have a bit of Italy, which adds to the reason for their survival. That's a lot of civilization. They're also connected to an already established empire, the Sassanid, as opposed to Western Europe, which was not. Very prosperous commerce. Again, going back, look where they're at, guys. They've got Silk Road trade, and since this is not one giant empire anymore, this is two separate ones, the Byzantines have no interest in helping anyone outside of them. If you can't contribute, get out. They also have a stronger military and fewer invasions. Ooh, let's talk about Justinian. Justinian reigned from 527 to 565. He was born in Thrace. And under him, the Byzantines reached their greatest size and their most powerful. And he wanted to rebuild the Roman Empire. Now, the Byzantines considered themselves to be the Roman Empire, that continuation. And because they consider it, as historians, we should too. But the culture was very different. The religion will eventually begin to change. In 532, Justinian commissioned the Corpus of Civil Law in 3 works, also referred to as Justinian's Code. It's a codified legal system. You can compare it to Hammurabi's Code, if you will. And Justinian rebuilt Constantinople. He updated it, modernized it, whichever you prefer. What he did do also is create the Hagia Sophia, which we'll discuss in just a minute. He was successful in fighting the Vandals in North Africa, but he was less successful in the East because the Sasanian Empire takes Antioch away from him. So this is the Hagia Sophia, and at one point it was an Orthodox church, but in 1453, Constantinople was conquered and taken by the Ottoman Turks under Sultan Mehmed II. And after the takeover, he ordered this iconic church to be converted into a mosque. And that's where you see the 4 minarets added onto the side. So what you have here is a great example of cultural syncretism. Inside the Hagia Sophia, there's actually still mosaics belonging to the Orthodox Church. Lily is very excited about this. I don't know if you guys can hear in the background. But very, very beautiful on the inside. So taking a look at 2 maps, Afro-Eurasia in 600 CE, notice the kingdoms. And by 800 CE, notice the strength of the Abbasid Caliphate. So the bubonic plague struck Europe in 541, and Europeans, people both in the Byzantine Empire and out, referred to this as the Plague of Justinian. And 2 phases of this plague. This is the first plague of the Black Death, the bubonic plague. The one that is incredibly famous that we all know of, the one that wipes out millions of people in Europe, that's actually the second plague that comes out. And Justinian, being blamed for this, often faced conflict. And while he's actually in battle is when his wife Theodora proves what an incredibly strong woman she is. She convinces him to stay and to fight. When he wants to run away, they end up winning, and he's able to really strengthen his position as the emperor. While its political and religious unity prevented the Byzantine Empire from breaking up, because that's political unity isn't everything. You need to have something else, whether it's cultural, social, or religious. And there were other serious threats aside from the bubonic plague. You also have the Umayyads invading the Byzantine Empire between 634 and 649, and they take quite a bit of territory from the Byzantine Empire, including Syria, Egypt, and Tunisia. And under the Umayyads, these people converted from the Byzantine Orthodox faith to Islam, and these losses permanently reduced the size of the Byzantine Empire. Prior to the plague, the empire had been an urban society with very wealthy and poor enjoying the cultural opportunities of the cities. And after the plague, the distinction between the upper and lower classes was diminished slightly. After 767 and the end of the plague, Constantinople begins a very slow recovery. And you'll excuse me for a minute. I'm just going to go shush Lily. Pardon me. And we're back. Sorry about that. You can't pause this. Oh, great. Now Lily's in here with me. Fantastic. So, in talking about what this urban life of the Byzantine was like, let's talk about society. In the Byzantine period, the family became the center of society, and women were confined to their homes. If they went out, they needed to wear veils. However, some Byzantine women could rule alongside their husbands. Zoe and Theodora are two great examples. They're sisters. This is not Justinian's Theodora. The Byzantine emperors intervened in the economy. They did set prices. They tried to control the provision of grain to the capital, and they also monopolized trade on certain goods. And they're certainly not the first empire to do this. As a result of government intervention, Constantinople was very well supplied, but other cities and rural areas throughout the rest of the empire lagged behind in terms of wealth and technology. And this is really going to play a huge impact in how Western Europe begins looking at the Byzantine Empire. By the time Zoe and Theodora are in power, the height and glory of the Byzantine Empire is long past. However, there were quite a few cultural achievements. For one, Byzantine art and architecture is very, very distinctive, from the mosaics to the religious themes. The design of churches and monasteries really plays a role and actually influences the art and architecture in Western Europe into the 13th century, before Western Europe begins developing a more distinctive style. In the 9th century, the Byzantine missionaries Cyril and Methodius preached to the Slavs of Moravia and actually taught them to write in Cyrillic script, which does become the official written language in the Byzantine Empire. Now, in terms of religion, the Byzantine Empire adopted Christianity, but they also took a lot of Roman ideas, including state-maintained roads, taxation, military structure, court systems, having that codified legal system. And they attempted to preserve the Roman legacy. And again, they call themselves Romans, even though they're very different. In order to really solidify that take, they forbid German or barbarian customs. Pants, guys, it's always pants. They could not wear boots or clothing made of animal skins, and they also could not have long hair. The emperor, this is also a great distinction. So the emperor adopts religion, enforces that religion, but he does not rule the church. That's a very, very distinct difference. Emperor rules the state and the patriarch rules the church. And that will be a very different idea as we get more into the rise of Islam with caliphates, with imams, when you have the idea that a Muslim government should run a Muslim state. And then when we get into Western Europe and we're talking about these early Western European kingdoms, even though in theory the king is in charge of his kingdom, it's actually the Pope who is in charge. The king must respond to the Pope, and if the king loses the Pope's blessing to rule, if you will, the Pope has the right to remove that king. So this is really where you have a distinctive difference. The Great Schism, one of my favorite words, as you guys know, 1054. So this is where you have the final break between Orthodox Christianity and the Roman Catholic Church. And here's a little chart for you, so you can see some of the major differences. Orthodox Christianity, Eastern Europe, as compared to the Catholic Western Europe. Constantinople is the capital, Rome is the capital. The official language is Greek, so the Bible in the Orthodox Christian Church is written in Greek. Catholic Church, it's in Latin. Orthodox Christianity actually bans the use of icons. There is no worship to icons, as opposed to the Catholic Church. There is a supported use of icons. And a great example of that is during an Easter Mass at a Catholic church that I went to. A very, very large statue, it's actually a life-size statue of Jesus crucified on the cross, was brought out, and one by one, everybody went up to kiss the feet of the statue. And I remember this very well because there was this woman at our church, we'll call her Mrs. Jones. She wore hot pink lipstick, and she forgot to do that cute little smudge thing that you're supposed to do when wearing lipstick, and she left a bright pink smudge on the statue that had to be buffed off later. In addition, especially with priests, there's a big difference. Priests can marry in the Orthodox Christian Church. They can't marry and are to remain celibate in the Catholic Church. That's a big difference with Orthodox Christianity. Priests marry and they can have families. The only way a Catholic priest can be married and have a family is if he's already married, already has a family, and then goes to become a priest. The most important holiday in the Christian Orthodox Christianity is Easter. In Roman Catholic, it's Christmas. There is a Caesaropapism that has the head of the church, as opposed to the Pope, who's the head of the Catholic Church. They disagree on the nature of the Trinity as well as the relative importance of faith and reason. So please remember that during the Enlightenment. We'll get there in a couple hundred years. So some Byzantine challenges. The Crusades, we're going to spend a lot of time later on talking about the Crusades, because the Crusades are one thing that actually managed to unite East and Western Europe, as they're both fighting against the same group of people. But the empire begins to decline in 1085. A couple different reasons. Expansion by rising European powers. So you have Western Europe actually beginning to rise up, different kingdoms forming. And because of that, the Byzantine Empire loses quite a bit of territory to these people. In addition, you have the Crusades. The Fourth Crusade is what really kind of puts the nail in the coffin. Turkish Muslims, the Seljuk Turks, they actually begin taking quite a bit of territory away as well. They're partaking in the Crusades, and the empire finally falls in 1453. This is a very slow decline, folks, when Constantinople was conquered by Ottoman Turks. And as you know, in the early 1900s, it will be renamed from Constantinople to, pausing for you to think about it and answer, Istanbul. All right, so we're going to stop there for today. I'm not sure how long I've been. Yep, there we go. That seems like a good point to stop. So we'll pick up tomorrow with the Carolingian Empire, the Germanic-speaking people of Western Europe. So have a great night, and if you got any questions,